All right, welcome everyone. We're just doing a bit of a what do they call these? A let's play of Twin Breaker with Joshua and Barry, both the creators and genius minds behind the game, dare I say. And yeah, we just wanted to have a look at this because Twin Breaker is getting a PS5 edition, is it not, Barry?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm going to be the one playing the game here, and yeah, we just released Twin Breaker on PS5, and comes with a new trophy set for the trophy hunters out there if you want to give that a go, and it'll be cross-buy if you've already purchased it. So if you've got it on PS4 or PS Vita, you'll be able to pick that up for free, and if you don't have it yet, you can get all three versions for one price out now.
Very cool. Yeah.
So this is the first story segment with Colin and Chris.
So did you say it's available on Vita still?
Yeah, you can get it on Vita or PS4 or PS5. And
I didn't even realize the Vita still had store availability.
There was a bit of a controversy with that last year, I think. There was some plans for there not to be some availability, but I think people got upset and then it was made available again.
Well, I'm going to have to get my Vita back out.
Yeah, so a while back, I think, I don't even know how many years ago it was now, a few, where they shut down the ability to release new games and patch games and stuff like that. And I think soon after that, they tried to phase out the store completely. But yeah, like Lachlan said, the Vita gamers put up a storm, rightly so, and Sony actually listened to them and decided to keep the store active.
I think that was
although there was some trouble with releases that we did on the store where I think in Europe they wouldn't display the picture of our game on it. It was like an error message, and then like they didn't show up under new releases, and yeah, that was a big mess trying to go back and forth getting them to try to fix that when they were trying to like shut the store down and not like provide help to people. They really just didn't want to deal with that kind of stuff at the time, so that was really frustrating.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there was an issue with the PS3 store at the same time. There was talks of shutting both of those down, and people were upset with that too. So
I still play my PS3.
Yeah, you can get some good if you're willing to sort of deal with the store itself. You can get some pretty good bargains on there actually for a lot of older PS, and it's the only way to play a bunch of those games, I think, still legally, I guess, to the letter of the law. So
yeah, I'm hoping we get some back compat support sometime
great
in the future from PlayStation. That would be
I just want to play the Infamouses
locked there.
Yeah, again, and play them
Infamous
in
like
a high frame rate. So Joshua, what was the inspiration behind some of the shapes and colors that we're seeing going on in the background here?
Well, I didn't do a lot of the backgrounds on this one, but
my bad, sorry.
Yeah, no. The background artist for this game was Marcelo Barbosa, and
cool.
Josh really worked with us on more of the gameplay centric art for this one, as well as some of the like the story stuff.
Yeah, I did a lot of this. I did a lot of the sprites and the HUD elements and some of the HUD elements and things like that, and then the storyboard stuff. Yeah, so I don't honestly know what led to the the interesting backgrounds.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to get Marcelo
you did some of the like promo art and the themes and avatars.
I think that was the
box
first
art. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. I think that was the first time we worked together at all ever, Barry. Is right? Yeah. Did you work with Barry before, Joshua? Or was this the first time you worked with Barry on?
This was the first project that I worked with Barry on.
A Lily Mo christening for both of us.
Yeah, it was the inception point.
How did you meet Barry, or how did you come across the project?
I'm pretty sure he found me on Twitter and messaged me, if I remember correctly.
Oh.
Or maybe I messaged him because he was. I don't remember. It's been a number of years. So, do you remember, Barry?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just wrestling with my puppy here. She started barking, so I muted myself and tried to grab her.
I remember our earliest conversations were on Twitter, like Twitter messages. So,
Yeah.
but I don't remember if I approached you or if you approached me. I used to post on Twitter a lot looking for work back in those days, and I think that Barry probably saw one of my posts on Twitter somehow and messaged me because he was looking for, someone to help with the game. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a similar story. It was through Twitter as well, but I did what I would consider like a horrendous piece of fan art. Not necessarily in subject matter. It was pretty, pretty safe subject matter from what I recall compared to what we had in Tribreaker. But yeah, I did that and was like just wishing you guys the best because I knew it was coming out and it was kind of exciting because it was going to be the first of these. I think it was the first, or was Hebroxia the first one you made with Colin? Barry?
No, Twin Breaker was the first we made together.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and I approached you guys both on Twitter. That's where I was like, I was searching out artists on places like that, and what was it, DeviantArt? I looked on there, I think.
Twitter used to.
Yeah.
Twitter used to be the main place for finding good work for like freelance artists. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't use it that much anymore. For looking for, I don't know. I got to a point where people found me and I didn't have to go looking for work.
Yeah, it's
so.
Tough. I think
so I stopped using it that way, but
I think it's still. I don't know. I can't say. Not for me. It's not worked recently for me. I guess if there's any, but yeah, no. It's I think it's still part of that, but it's social media has gotten so segmented now that it's kind of like I don't know that there is like a one-stop shop for a lot of that. I think Discord is, or like if you're in different servers on Discord, I know there's like a work with indies Discord that's pretty cool where they post a bunch of jobs for indie developers looking for people, but it is kind of weird that it's like we're going almost old internet with that stuff now, with like message boards and what have you. It's sort of moving away from that. But I just remembered. So with that, doing this, this was my first bit of commissioned art. I think that was not in a studio setting, and I did a bunch of themes and avatars that were going to be. I don't know if they were in the PS4 version, but we were going to have a Vita. Or like on my Vita currently, I have the non-live version of the Twin Breaker theme. But is that available now, Barry?
So I can speak to that. Yeah, that's a long story trying to get those out, because when we created those, they used to let you put out themes and avatars for free and just had their own section for them where you could do that. And that's what we planned to do, except that they cut that off like in between the time that we did that and the release of the game. They like stopped that practice, and the only way you could do it was to have them tied to a game for us. Like if we bundled them together with the game, then we could let people have them for free. Otherwise, we'd have to like charge for them, I think it was, and we didn't want to do that. But the problem was we had already set up our bundle or whatever, and we tried to work with them to get that sorted out, but we could never get them going. And then years later, I think it was when there was a Russian release, because we had done Europe, but Russia had been excluded for a ratings reason or something.
Oh, right.
And something changed about that on the back end that allowed us to then put the game out in Russia, which I think since has been like I don't know if we're allowed to sell games in Russia anymore because of embargoes or whatever. But anyway, we set up a new bundle then, and everyone who got that bundle did get the themes and whatnot. But now that we've done the PS5 version, I set up a new bundle with all of the stuff in it, and people will get the theme on PS4. They will get 3 Colin avatars and 3 Chris avatars, along with the different versions of the game on PS4 and PS Vita and PS5. Unfortunately, it doesn't include the Vita theme.
That's a
Maybe I
shame.
could have done that actually. Now that I think about it, because the way it works on the back end now is you can add entitlements yourself, but the Vita stuff isn't. Like, we don't have access to adding that into bundles, so we had to work with Sony to get the Vita game added back into the new bundles. That was a bit of a messy process to get all that working, but it's worth it obviously for us because we want to do that cross-buy stuff for all of our games.
I think one of my favorite parts of the process for making this game was watching Lachlan's iteration of like how he took my sprited characters like with their uniforms and turned them into like, you know, bigger art. And it was fun for me because like, I don't know, like I didn't have a lot of concrete direction over how to make it look. So I just kind of took like a mix of Mega Man and Robotech and kind of combined them together to make a suit. And then when you took the sprited versions that I had made and made it up into a higher resolution art, you know, I could definitely see both inspirations there, like carrying through, and I thought that was a lot of fun.
I definitely got
me watching that.
the bubble shoulder pads and stuff from It was so cool. You saw that there was that person that made the action figures of.
Oh, yeah, those are great. Sorry,
I didn't see that.
There's someone reached out to Colin and actually made like GI Joe mock-ups.
Oh, that's
basically.
crazy.
Yeah, they're really cool.
I should find that and share that with you after this.
Please do.
Yeah. Because
I think that was on Instagram or something like that.
I think so. Yeah. Again, speaking of platforms I don't participate in or don't keep track of, but yeah, that was.
I created a Lilymo Instagram, but I think I've only posted once ever, so not really a platform.
Yeah, I mean, it was
used to.
I was a little more active on it ages ago, and then I was inactive for ages, and I had like some drama where I think someone tried to hack it, and it was just a nightmare.
No.
It's just.
Shout out to our boy Josh, the other Josh. I think his Twitter got he got locked out of it because he like forgot his password or something, and then they thought he was getting hacked, so they
I think maybe
out.
something like maybe that's what happened with me. Something similar with the Instagram incident, but who knows? I don't know. It's maybe it's a calling from above to say,
this is sweet release.
Yeah,
you don't have to be there.
Yeah.
That's what Josh was saying. He was like, I don't know if I really want it back or not, because it's like, who really likes to be on the social media stuff too much anymore, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
blessing and a curse.
Yeah, you should spend more time playing cool old retro games.
Oh!
I do like the more visceral like exertions from Barry as he's feeling the always.
Oh, I'm censoring myself.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. Like, I really think Twin Breaker is a harder game than Tri-Breaker.
Oh yeah.
It definitely has more of a tension to it when you're playing it a little bit.
I think there's definitely points where there's more sticking points. Like there's levels that are particularly hard in this game that are like harder than most of the game. That was something that people gave feedback about, and I actually did tweak that a little bit on PS5, but just a little bit because I didn't want to like reshape the levels to be something they weren't originally. But I did some of the levels that were like particularly frustrating for people. I just like slightly eased up on some of the elements that made them hard. And also in the marathon mode for PS5, there's a trophy on the PS5 version for beating 15 levels in a row on marathon mode. And I realized that was going to be too hard to do. So I did some tweaks where like I think it's every 2,000 points you get a free life on that mode or something like that.
That's handy. Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I think the big issue that you brought up, Barry, as well, is that, and something you actually removed from from that was in Twin Breaker that you removed from Tri Breaker was the 4 paddle levels. Do you want to elaborate on what sort of feedback you were getting, and as long as it's PG, I guess?
Yeah, sure. So that was a mechanic that I think it was a clever idea, and it's fun to a degree, but it's certainly one that's like hard for people to wrap their heads around in the short time span that is this game. Like, because I played this game so much during testing, and it was the same for Colin at the time, we both like got really used to that mechanic over time. But for most players, it was like they're introduced to it and it's just too hard to grasp. And there's a lot of people who didn't like that. So we knew for the sequel, Tri-Breaker, which is already out, by the way, if people don't know, we decided to not have any 4 paddle levels. And if you don't know what I'm talking about for 4 paddles, you can see right now I'm controlling 2 paddles at the bottom of the screen, one with one stick and one with the other. And for the 4 paddle levels, you have boundaries on the sides of the screen as well as the bottom that you have to defend with paddles for them. And you use the 2 sticks and control them all at once. It's pretty hectic, and it's hard to wrap your head around for some people.
So if you ever decide to go Quad Breaker, it's going to be a whole game of 4 paddles, right?
It's going to be a game that sells like 100 copies.
The live service Quad Breaker.
I mean, this is the Dark Souls.
Yeah.
This is the Dark Souls of paddle games, right?
Or would it be the Demon Souls? I don't know. Potentially.
Yeah, maybe.
Given its historical context, potentially. But
Elden Brick.
Elden Brick.
Well, we need some fan art of that, I'm sure. That'll be amazing. I imagine that's just like that's the Lego version of Elden Ring.
Yeah. Hey, that might happen. You know what? Like, that's a huge game, and
and this
Lego
the
is
big
all
one.
about going with IPs.
I don't really understand how the new one works, but it's a it's a bit like a Fortnite-y sort of thing, at least with the boundary closing in. But it is a co-op experience, but exclusively.
Sorry, which game are we talking about?
There's the Elden Ring expansion. Sorry, I should. I'm not sure if it's expansion. It might actually be a full new release.
Yeah, I think it's a standalone of some sort.
It's interesting. I'm not against that principally in the idea of having something that like works and just playing with the tools that you've already got. I'm not big on the live service experience or multiplayer experience. As a elder millennial, I guess it's getting to that point where I'm like, I don't have it in me.
I mean, I'm personally an old school multiplayer should be with people in the room with you.
Sure.
And like couch co-op, couch versus, like, I love that kind of stuff still. I try to get my kids to play it with me that way, like everything, like
they'd be
Mario
able to
Kart
do
and things like that.
With Twin Breaker, for example.
Exactly, yeah. Because Twin Breaker is multiplayer. You can play it that way. So.
Yeah, and so for the PS5 version, which just came out, I did make a tweak with the trophies, where if you're playing co-op on the PS5 version, you'll get both people who are playing will get all the trophies.
That's really
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And boost up your PlayStation stars.
Yeah, you'll get some rare trophies. I love that when it's like, you need to get this many rare trophies again. I'm like, ooh, we got a game coming out. I'm gonna use some of those trophies.
Yeah, I've been doing that too recently. But I think I got them all. I got the platinum in Medieval 2 recently. And apparently, I think there was plenty of people played it, and it wasn't super rare, but there was enough rare trophies that got it. That game.
How do you feel about that remake of the first one?
I
The MIDI.
I think there was some quality of life things they improved, like not having tank controls is a plus. That's enjoyable, comparatively. But I think some aesthetic things that were limitations of the hardware actually played into the aesthetic and the mood a bit more. I think I was talking to Mel about this the other day when I was playing through and writing my notes like a nerd in the journal in my game journal.
Yeah.
About how the old medieval sort of captured this mood that was like a balance between like a kid's like a Nightmare Before Christmas or like Tim Burton sort of film where it's like on the
Yeah.
border of not being okay for kids, but it has that like fun silliness that sort of undercuts some of the horror, but there's still a hint of spookiness and danger there. And I think that they may have overdone the Unreal Engine like lighting, like colored lighting things in the remake a bit, but I appreciate what they did in terms of actually bringing it out again. And I got the platinum in that one too. Like I played through all of that, and yeah, it was a great experience. But I think it was I think there were some aesthetic decision changes made that I think was like, just because you can doesn't mean you should, a little bit. But that's a personal thought of mine, I guess, with some of these.
Yeah, I see that. I think there's something about like PS1 games that's like the aesthetic and like even the identity of the game kind of comes from the like technical decisions that were made at the time.
Yeah, like the shadow, the black shadow, sort of like that was the fog of war, I guess, for want of a better phrase,
Right.
in the map. Was a technical limitation the same way in Silent Hill that the fog was there to do that, but it actually created this sort of atmosphere. I kind of liked that about the first Medieval.
That was something that was talked about a lot with the Grand Theft Auto remakes. I remember because
really?
like they changed stuff about the fog at the start, but they like tried to bring back that old fog because it like ruined the look of it by trying to make the city more visible like that.
Oh, interesting.
So I have a question relating to Twin Breaker. Barry, I didn't work on the bosses on this game. What was the inspiration for making them look like these sort of like, I don't know, archaeological statues?
Yeah, so that was kind of like probably Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse was like my my starting point for that, because like there was like those entrances and exits to levels, and I just said something along the lines of like, let's do like a totem, kind of like I think I sent art from different like styles of statues, some that were like maybe Egyptian or something, and Native American, like things like that, but like play up the brick like nature of them. I want them to look like they're made out of these bricks. And Marcelo just shot out the first one and it looked good, and I said, yeah, let's go with this for the style, and he just came up with some different design ideas for the others from there.
Cool. So as a follow-up, was there a connection between the Twin Breaker universe and the Habroxia universe at all?
So not like officially in terms of story. We just throw like if you beat Twin Breaker on New Game Plus, you see a little a ship fly off for Habroxia, just like a tease, like in the way that all of our games are connected in that way, just to like have Easter eggs and stuff, kind of thing.
Sure, because I know that there was the Habroxia ship in Tribreaker,
right,
that you can fight with or choose not to. Is there any chance that in the future, in a Habroxia title, you might fight like a corrupted generation ship or some of these archaeological things as a boss or something? That would be fun.
So on let me think here. Habroxia 2, there's a trophy. So in Habroxia 2, you save astronauts in each level, and one is Chris and one is Colin. And when you save both of them, when you save the second of the two of them, you'll see a little animation of the two paddle ships appear and then blast off together. It's a
fun.
little Easter egg, and that's a trophy in that game too.
I love
that.
that.
Maybe one of the Habroxia games, like if you ever do like a Habroxia 3 or something, you can have like some setup where there's some of these bosses or something linked in or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I love doing little nods to our various games.
I think I think
that'd be super cool.
Yeah, I like the nods. I'm not like, I like the way that you could do it, Barry, I guess is what I'm getting at. I'm less interested, I think, in like shared universe
Yeah, I
things.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. When it's you can mess up the tone of things when you try to, and like what's special about a world and stuff like that. You have to be careful about bringing too much stuff from one franchise to another like that. And
But I think Easter eggs are great. I think that's a nice little tip of the hat, for want of a better phrase, to the work of Lilymo across the board and everyone's contributions. It's nice to get that little, like, oh yeah, there's my thing that I worked on, or like there's I'm that astronaut, or what have you.
Well, it also rewards your players who have carried through all of your other
100%,
games.
yeah.
You know, it gives them a little prize for like, yeah, I played Twin Breaker, or I played Tribreaker, and I played Habroxia, so those kind of thing. Ah, I know what that is. You know,
Or if they're not
Yeah, that's-
aware, it can also lead people to go, well, maybe I'll check out this other thing they've made. I enjoyed this.
yeah.
So yeah.
oh, here's a good one.
Oh, damn. The heavy ball's the way to go with
Yeah, I love that heavy ball.
phrasing. But yeah.
You know,
I
when
mean,
I first played this
balls.
game,
yeah.
I had no idea that you could use the little buffer push out ability for like the longest time when I played this the first time.
That's handy
So
as
when I
too.
first came up with the mechanic for that, this was before Colin was on board.
Mhm.
The game was actually a lot easier because what I had was that if you hit a brick with the paddle shot, it would kill the brick as well.
Ah.
But Colin was like, "This is too easy. You can just shoot all the bricks down."
So everyone that complains about that feature now.
Yeah,
knows
anyone who
to
says
direct
it's
it.
too hard, blame Colin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and these are the codexes you get when you unlock an S rank. You get a bit of lore from Colin. Speaking of Colin, he wrote all these collectibles for each level.
The thing
Huge
with this
lore
too,
in
I
the
know
game.
there was some feedback that it was like too, what there
Too
was
dense?
just too dense, or whatever. And it's like it's as dense as you want it to be. I think, like, if you want to,
Yeah, it's completely
Yeah.
optional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can skip all of the story and stuff. The thing is that was kind of part of the whole thing. Like Colin was going for it being sort of, it was kind of a joke that
Yeah,
the game is a brick breaker, one of the most simple styles of game that can be. And it was loaded. It was like a book. It was loaded to the gills with lore and narrative and story. Yeah.
yeah. And just to speak to that a bit, it's so funny because we ended up going in a different direction with Tribreaker with the tone, but my intent originally when I came up with the whole jokey, it looks like a dick thing and all that, was that we'd be doing this thing where it looks like a dick and everyone can see it and they're thinking that, but then the story is still serious and dense. It doesn't acknowledge it at all, and I thought that would
yeah.
be hilarious. But Colin ended up playing
Playing
ball, I guess
yeah.
you could say, and
Jeez.
so we went in a different direction there. But I always loved that contrast of having this bulky story on this silly little game. I thought that was hilarious from the start.
I think all great satire and all great sort of the characters and the participants in the universe have to take it seriously. It's their doomsday scenario, like it's their thing that they're dealing with. But it's, as an outsider, you can understand how ridiculous it is conceptually. So that's where the humor comes from. Look at me making humor.
This is the
yeah. Yeah.
This is the 4 paddles that we were talking about.
Yeah,
before.
this is gonna get
Sorry to cut you
nasty.
off.
No, it's all good. He saved me from myself, I think, somewhat. But yeah, I remember
It's
doing
a-
this and being like, "Oh, this is fine," and then some of the later levels, I was like, "Yeah." Said some nasty things to you virtually, Barry, like at the screen. I was screaming.
Yeah, all those curses caught up to me eventually. People yelling at their screen.
Yeah. Oh, I just left it at the screen. I don't think it needed a tweet or anything like that. But yeah, well, good to know, I guess, that 4 paddles are not.
The karma, I felt the karma either way.
Yeah, I sent out the bad energy.
The bad juju is like something's wrong. I
Yeah.
feel something.
Yeah, there's a disturbance in the force somewhere. 1,000 voices crying out like, ah, fuck, like that's it.
Yeah.
All at once. Yeah, I think it's still super fun though. Like, I felt good after I beat them. Like, I had this thing with the Astrobot, like, master level or whatever, the last one at the end of the game. in the most recent Astrobot
Yep.
game. That shit was hard, and I raged and like put it down for a day or two, and then came back to it, and then got it, and I was like, that felt amazing.
Now,
I completely
did you
changed
ever
my.
play? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Go
what
ahead.
were you gonna say?
Oh, finish your thought first.
I was just
got a
gonna say, it
follow-up
completely
question.
can change my perspective. I think this is the thing. Like, I never, I was like, this is unfair, and then I beat it, and I was like, this is exactly as hard as it needed to be. Like, I feel so overwhelmed. Like, I had the cathartic like rush of adrenaline afterwards. I was like, oh, I wanted to play it again. And immediately did. Like, I went, even though I got the trophies and everything, it was just, there's something to that, I think. And this is why people love Dark Souls and what have you too. Is like, there is this. I'm comparing Astrobot to Dark Souls. There we go. There's the headline for this. But is that, I don't know. There is that sense of satisfaction when you do conquer something. Like, it's like, yeah, I beat that. That felt amazing. And you know. Anyway, that's all I was sort of going to wax lyrical about. Was, yeah.
So I was just gonna ask because that reminded me of the game Mario Wonder. Did you ever play that one or finish that one?
I started playing it when I was on the trip to Japan, but then I don't use the Switch very much. But I really enjoyed the portal shifting thing, the
Yeah, the
mechanically,
Wonder Seed,
yeah.
right?
But you
So
said,
that one
yeah.
was one. That was one where the game itself I found was like pretty easy for like the whole game.
Mhm.
But then there was this like ultra final level. I can't remember what it was called, but it was called something like that. It's like the real very end final level or whatever. And that one was like 10 times harder than any other level in the game, and it was like super long too. So that one was crazy to finally beat, especially after like an easy game. To have something that hard at the end was wild.
Yeah, I think I prefer. That sounds a little like I would be a bit annoyed with that, but I think Astrobot sort of doled it out. They tempted you before with some of the harder, like to the beat. I was like, oh my god. So whoever designed to the beat, I was like, I'm going to show you how like in tune to the beat I am now. but yeah, it I felt like it came through the game like organically. Like, I didn't feel like it was hard, like the master level was hard, but it didn't feel completely out of place. And design wise, I understood it's like, oh, this is every mechanic we've taught you in the game. This is your test now to see literally if you've mastered it. But yeah.
Yeah, I didn't find it too crazy hard myself personally, but have you played they've been doing like DLC new levels that have like speed runs and stuff.
Yeah, I did.
There's one of those that was like motion controls, and I was just like, "Oh, this sucks.
Was
This
that the
isn't
monkey
fun.
one?
This is hard." Yeah, you gotta like swing your arms.
I had to look up some dude on YouTube that like speedrun, and I was like, this kid moves his hands so much quicker than I don't even think the camera's picking it up. But yeah, I got the like the two dudes on that. Like but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the monkey thing. I don't like motion controls generally. But
so here's a pro tip for you. You can go into the pause and change it to turn off the motion controls for that.
Oh really?
That's how I beat it.
Yeah, I think that's how it was recommended. But this guy was like, oh, I just do it this way, and then it was like he just like paint mixer hands
waving his arm.
Yeah, I was just like I was like, oh okay, well I'll do that, and then possibly lose my livelihood when I break both my wrists. But yeah, but I don't know, like, did you play the Astrobots too, didn't you, Joshua? Like, or
mostly just when my little boy, he's been, my 9-year-old has been the obsessive about Astrobot. He just went crazy for that game, and he has played through everything, but there have been some bosses and things like that he struggled with, and I helped him out with those. As someone who wasn't playing the game, but then was forced to play through, boss encounters and things like that, like high challenge points, I felt like the game, from my experience with it, which is limited, was pretty good. And he has been trying these new levels that they just put out, like the Ultra Challenge, and we keep having to get onto him a little bit because he gets like super screamy, ragey at it, where he's really struggling with those stages. But yeah, this is his first real like I have played through a full platformer game that actually has some challenge to it and some really intense mechanics. So I've actually been pretty impressed by how well he's done with it. So
That's great. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I love the game.
Yeah, I think it's no, I know. I think there was an article recent. I'm not sure who it was from, but it was like a really sort of the catchy headline or was how Sony accidentally made their own Mario, and I think that's probably true.
I don't
Yeah.
think they did it on accident.
No,
To
They,
be
they
honest with
copied
you.
like
think,
the
yeah.
Mario Sunshine controls, like with that
Yeah.
water pack, right? So
Mhm. I mean,
the
that's the
hover.
thing.
I mean,
They weren't allowed to say on stage, I guess, that they were like, yeah, Mario
yeah,
rules.
right. I
Yeah,
remember that.
but yeah, you can tell it's a lot of the great ideas there. It's just been executed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With a
it's hard
different.
to make a platformer without paying homage to Mario in some way or
Mhm.
another.
It was with like Super Perils as well. It's like it is
Yeah.
Super Mario World and DK. Like,
We
I'm.
need to make a Sonic style game.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah, I do, because I really like those. And there's actually a series of games that are indie called Freedom Planet,
Yeah. I haven't played
which
those, but
are
I've seen them. Yeah.
they're very Sonic, and I love those too. Like
Are
I
they
love
like
everything
3D
like
Sonic
old.
or 2D Sonic? So.
They're
2D.
they're 2D sprites, and it's like
Oh,
old
cool.
school side-scrolling platformer with the same kind of mechanics. So
I think I have one of those on Steam, but I haven't played it yet.
I played
it's
a game.
good.
Sorry, go.
Oh, I like that style of platformer.
Mm.
They have a different style than your typical Mario stuff, and I think it's an underplayed take on the genre. So
Yeah, I think I my first console was a PS1, so I was like born into the 3D era,
Oh,
Mm.
and I've sort of come
Yeah.
back around to 2D games as I got older.
Well, let me tell you that the Super Nintendo is really the golden age of sprite work games. Like, that whole area, it just so many good games. And you guys were talking about like genre style being based on like the hardware limitations, and you're not going to see anything more iconic than the Mode 7
oh yeah.
systems of the SNES, where they were experimenting with that, because it
I think
changed the way games were played.
I
It
think
was the
Lachlan
first.
was sharing some of those videos, right, of different Mode 7.
Yeah.
Did
Were
you
they
share
the
a video
ones
about
where
that
it
at
was
one point?
like the guy that had done those tiling floor assets in like the Toy Story game and stuff, or was that, or am I thinking of
I
something
think you
else?
shared one of like a Super Nintendo and Sega Batman game or something.
That
with
one,
Mode
yeah,
7
the Batman
effects.
animated series one. That was sick.
Yeah, like that was their first real ability to get into pushing towards a 3D like immersion in a pixel art game. And yeah, because basically what they were doing was they were taking sprites and laying them flat,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking other sprites and standing them up on it, and giving the illusion of 3D that way. And it was, you could see it all over the SNES. And yeah, it had its own visual appeal. I mean, the first Mario Kart was
Yeah.
basically built on that whole
Right.
premise. So
And the first Star Fox, I guess too. Was it not?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the thing that I'm like, I'm blown away by that they managed to get that out, and I was like, I mean, there's more size in those, like the size of those games entirety is like the size of some JPEGs now. It's wild.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's crazy. It's crazy to me to think about how how hard things were for them to do it, and how like a lot of the time those teams would be like 5 or 6 guys would do the whole game.
I was
And
yeah,
they didn't have the tool suites that we do these days.
No,
So,
that's the other thing. I was thinking about this the other day too, like with the Street Fighter 2 sprites and then 3 and Alpha and stuff, and I was like, holy crap. Like looking at how they did this, it's just like the amount of patience you would have had to, I guess you just didn't know any better. Like that was the thing. You hadn't tasted the golden fruit of like some of the more luxurious tools and things afforded to us that are quite cheap now, or like quite accessible. I think we're streets ahead of where it was in 87, 88, and it's not as expensive. Like to get what was it with Donkey Kong Country? Didn't they? I don't know if they had the software, the like 3D software or something for it. That
I'm pretty sure when Donkey Kong Country came out, it was the most expensive game that had ever been made at that point in time, because it was doing something totally different, that they hadn't done before.
Yeah, I think it was like
Well worth the cost.
yeah, it was like £200,000. I think was one of those computers, like one of the animation suites.
I got a hat trick there in like 5 seconds.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think they're still timeless. That's the thing. It does look better on CRT monitors. I think a lot of those. Like I played got Mel's old SNES and was playing Super Star Wars on a CRT, and it's like, oh, this is how it was meant to look. Like,
Yep.
yeah, because you get those nice like alias sort of blends from the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's lost on a lot of people, but I mean, I still think they look pretty good these days. But it's interesting to me that they haven't come up with a way with emulators, because they're basically emulating a lot of these games when they bring them out, and their response wasn't to come up with a way to simulate the CRTV look in the emulation. It was, oh, we're gonna do a remaster, and then we're just gonna kind of like do a smudging of everything and blend it all together into these muddy, goopy sprites. So I don't know. That I was kind of upset by that step.
I think it has gotten better from what I've seen.
It has.
Yeah.
Well, the pixel remasters of like the Final Fantasy games, they did a much better job. But even some of those, like the Final Fantasy VI one, I was looking at the character sprites for that, and it upset me a little bit. But
I think there was some weirdness with the UI in those too, where they got like a modern sort of.
Well, I think they were going for mobile releases with a lot of it too.
Okay.
So
they added the low res fonts in later, I think, right?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that drives me crazy when you have a low res game and then you have just like modern high res font slapped on top of it, or high res UI. It looks so ugly.
You know something I'm just realizing, Barry? I don't think we put any of these diagonal blocks in Tribreaker. Like these little blocks here that are at diagonal angles, like the diamond shaped ones.
I just flipped the angle on them. Maybe. You might be right. I can't
I don't think we put any of that into Tribreaker.
Was there
That's
not in any of the boss runs, like the boss channels. Oh, no,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I mean, we had some bricks that were at diagonal angles that were just set up that way.
There is some hostile ones in that boss that are like this, I think. Like if you crash into them, you die, and they were diamond. Like it's just flipped. What is it? 45 degrees.
Yeah. So to focus on this a little bit more, than we have been in our discussion, what do you think is one thing that Twin Breaker does better than Tribreaker? Because I know we focused a lot on making Tribreaker feel better across the board. Like not better, but like improved. Like, oh, look at this, we upgraded this and we made this feel better and we tweaked this. But like, what's one thing you think Twin Breaker does better?
Well, Twin Breaker has co-op, so that'd be the obvious.
Yeah, see, that was a layup.
I'd have to think about that. I'm sure there's something I could think of where I'm like, this aspect felt good here. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The whole goal of Tribreaker was look at everything that we've done and try and improve on it in every way that we could think of. So it's hard to like think of something now. It would have to have been something we compromised on or didn't think of, and I don't think we really compromised on much. So if I couldn't think of it when we were making Tribreaker, I probably can't think of it now.
I feel like it's more different than, like, I think Tribreaker's probably far and away the better experience. I think this is still fun, but this is the sort of the first run of it. Whereas I think Tribreaker sort of cinches up a lot of that and goes, okay, well, this is what a good sequel does. Sort of elevates on what it was before. But they're like the ship guns are gone. I think that's the
that's true.
Speaking of ship guns, but I think that's sort of when you it kind of doesn't make that. Was that in the original Breakout?
I couldn't tell you. It's definitely been in lots of Brick Breakers in the past. Having some type of gun power up. But yeah, were there any other topics that we wanted to cover for this,
I
or do you
think
want
just
to
quickly,
wrap it up?
we probably want to say to people who have been with us this whole time, which is very nice of them, but if you are playing on Steam, it does have Steam Deck support. Is that correct?
Yeah, it hasn't been officially verified because you have to like you get flagged. I think if you have like enough players who play it on Steam or whatever, then it goes into testing and you get a verification status. But we did play test it on the Steam Deck ourselves, and we have optimized it for the Steam Deck. So yeah, it plays great on the Steam Deck, and it has the Steam Cloud Save function, so you can
That's
just
great.
pick up where you left off on your PC or vice versa from the Steam Deck to the PC and keep going.
I have a question regarding that, and this is something that's completely out of my wheelhouse because I haven't ever tried this. Can you play 2-player through Steam on your Steam Decks, like where you guys are like sitting on the couch together, both of you playing the Steam Deck that way or something?
I don't know. You might be able to do that via remote play. I don't think there's like a way to connect through
I think you
local
can
area
connect
network or something like that.
controllers. I think you can,
Yeah, you can do that.
yeah.
He's talking about like two Steam Decks, though, right? Is that what
Yeah,
you asked?
yeah. That's I don't know.
Kind of
I'm
like the
just
Game Boy in
imagining.
the day with
Yeah,
the link cable.
that sounds amazing. I don't know. I hadn't thought about it because it never occurred to me. Have somebody having more than one Steam Deck
Hey,
available.
if someone does have two Steam Decks out there, let us know in the
Yeah.
comments if
Yeah.
that's possible or not. Maybe through the remote play together. I don't
Yeah.
know. We definitely haven't tested that.
Yeah, help us out,
Yeah.
Gabe. Have a crack at Trybreaker with the Steam Deck wall that I'm sure you've got over there in the office, and see if it holds up. The other thing too, just quickly before we go, there's a note here for ports by East Asia Soft as well.
Oh yeah, that was more of a longer discussion. That was
Oh,
just
okay.
going to be something we could talk about. Where when this game originally came out, we published it first on PlayStation, and I think that was it, right? And then East Asia Soft handled ports for us on Steam and Xbox and Switch. But then we got the rights back to those, and we handle all of our ports now. And like we updated it on Steam recently to make sure it works good with the Steam Deck and all that. So. Yeah, it was something we could have talked about longer, but I feel like we should get to wrapping this thing
No,
up.
no, I agree. That's all good. It's very late here, or early.
Yeah, thanks for both hosting and for being with us here at this hour, this
Oh,
ungodly hour.
no, it's my pleasure. I like doing something constructive with my insomnia. It's good. Cool. Well, thank you all for hanging around and listen to us chinwag about a very fun game, Twin Breaker, which now can be played natively on PS5. And look forward to hearing from you all soon. So take care. Thanks very much, Barry. Thanks very much, Joshua, for making the
Yeah,
game,
thanks.
as well as broadcasting it now. And talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.